Hey guys, in this video we'll be going over at least one tip in every single country as currently in Geoguessr. Now some of these tips may be very easy, you know them already, and some of them may be a bit more advanced. Well, you're starting right now with North America. In Canada, you will see maximum signs. If you see French in Canada, you will almost always be in either Quebec or New Brunswick, but most likely Quebec. In the United States, if you see vineyards like this, you're most likely going to be in California. As you can see, California has by far the most wineries out of any state in the country. This is especially true in the Napa Valley right next to Sacramento and Santa Rosa. Also, the United States uses speed limit signs instead of the maximum signs from Canada, which can help you differentiate the two. Also, this number here is in miles per hour, one of the few countries in the world to use miles per hour. Mexico City has pink taxis. If you're in Mexico City, it'll be rare to not see one of these. The country oftentimes uses 8-sided poles, which is very rare to see in any other country besides Mexico. Guatemala's car features a roof rack. You won't see any other car used in Guatemala. Similar to Guatemala, the Dominican Republic also has a roof rack, but this time there are big black stripes that go through all 4 sides of the middle of the roof rack. Colombia is the only country in South America that regularly uses yellow plates. Taxis in Ecuador will often have an orange tinted plate. If you see a city where there's more tuk-tuks than any other type of vehicle, you are most likely in the city of Iquitos in Peru. Iquitos is an isolated city way up here in the northeast corner of Peru. The entire northern part of Bolivia has no coverage, so if you're gonna guess in Bolivia, guess around these 3 big cities or just south of it. Highway 9 in the very southern part of Chile is very identifiable. If you drop it in and look at the road lines, they are all yellow on the outside and in. Not many other roads in the world are like this. You will see a black blur in the middle of Argentinian plates. This is pretty unique to this country. Almost all of Uruguay was filmed on a very cloudy day. They also use white, thick signposts. Brazil is the only place in South America that speaks Portuguese. An easy way to identify Portuguese is the C with the accent underneath. This is not in Spanish. Also, the CAO ending is very common in Portuguese, and you'll see it all over Brazil. This will not be seen in Spanish. In Iceland, you may see a giant cathedral with a statue of Leif Erikson posing outside. In Ireland, they drink a lot of Guinness. In the UK, you see a lot of roadside hedges, and if you're lucky, you may even see Tom Davies trying to crawl through one. Norway has a lot of beautiful mountains, scenery, and fjords. Sweden is known for a lot of red buildings everywhere. In Finland, it is very common to see roads end with the letters TIE. In Estonia, it is somewhat common to see a green tint. In Latvia, there's a city and a municipality called Madana. In Lithuania, it is sometimes common to see giant bird nests on top of poles. This is a Polish ballad. As you can see, it is slightly slanted with a red stripe in the middle, and sometimes you can even see numbers at the bottom. In Denmark, it is common to see URLs ending in DK, and also all of the commercial vehicles here have yellow plates, but the common cars that everybody else drives don't have yellow plates. Speaking of yellow plates, if you are in the Netherlands, you will see yellow on everywhere, including the front and the back. And the trend continues with Luxembourg. As you can see, there is yellow plates everywhere. The difference between Luxembourg and the Netherlands is that Luxembourg has a lot of hills. Netherlands is very flat. In Belgium, you will often see brick buildings as well as a pinkish tint on their license plates. In France, you will find the Eiffel Tower. Monaco has a very distinct look, and also it is very common to find trucker coverage while you're in the water. Speaking of distinct looks, here we are in Andorra that have pretty distinct mountains. You really won't see these type of mountains anywhere else in the world, so if you see these, probably going to be in Andorra. If you see these black and white diagonal signs, you're going to be in Spain because these are the no hunting signs in Spain and are very common, not seen anywhere else. If you're in Portugal, you might find blue on the left and yellow on the right in the license plates. You won't see this pattern anywhere else in the world. There are 4 national languages spoken in Switzerland, the most common one being German, of course, but you also will see French on the west side near France and Italian in the south near Italy. Speaking of Italy, Italian license plates are very short in the front and have 2 blue dashes on either side. San Marino, however, does not have these blue dashes, but keep in mind, San Marino is right in the middle of Italy, and there's probably going to be some travelers traveling through with the blue dashes. In Austria, it is very common to see roads that end in Straße, which means road, and over here we have Gasse, which means alley. Do with that information as you will. In Czechia, it is very common to see signs like this where you have the city name in the bottom right hand corner. Praha is actually Prague. In Slovakia, it is very common to see these boxed addresses on houses. This is a Slovenian baller. You'll see this very commonly in Slovenia, where it has a black top and a red stripe in the middle. Here we are in Croatia. We see an ancient fortress in front of us today, and that is in the city of Dubrovnik. In Dubrovnik, you might see the local language, which looks like this, but you also may see some English as well. Here we have a typical Hungarian pole. As you can see, there are holes in it that go all the way to the bottom into the grass. These poles are also very common in Romania. When you're in Ukraine, it is very common to see these red cars throughout the country. Serbia is one of 2 countries in Europe that regularly sees no sort of car meta, no antenna, nor color. However, it's not 100% of the time. The other country is North Macedonia, directly to Serbia's south. Here you also probably won't see any sort of car meta. When in Montenegro, it is very possible to see these massive rifts in the sky. You will also probably see some big mountains. Similarly, right to its south, we have Albania, which also has the massive rifts and pretty substantial mountains. When in Greece, you'll see these pretty distinctive blue signs on buildings. These have both the Greek letters and also the Latin letters. Bulgaria has an abnormal amount of winter coverage, oftentimes featuring snow. Malta is very famous for its abundance of low rock walls, quite literally everywhere. If you ever see the word Batman, you are not in Gotham City. You are actually in the country of Turkey, here on the eastern side. There is an entire city and province called Batman. Russians really love their black and white paint. You will see at all sorts of things, including guardrails and poles. Israel is the only place in the world that you will really find Hebrew language. Jordan has yellow outer lines, white inner lines, and a black back of the car. Combine that with the desertous regions that you see here, and you will definitely be able to pick out Jordan when you get it. The country of Qatar has very limited coverage, but the coverage it does have surrounds the football stadiums. This is because the FIFA World Cup was recently in Qatar. The Burj Khalifa is the tallest building in the world, located in Dubai of the United Arab Emirates. You can see this building from quite a long ways away in the surrounding areas of Dubai. In the country of Tunisia, you will often see bilingual signs featuring Arabic and Latin letters. When you're in Africa, the only country that speaks French currently in Geoguessr is Senegal. A good way to tell that you're in Ghana is if you see a black tape on the front right side of the Google car roof rack. Ghana is also extremely religious, and you will see a lot of references to Christ and a lot of church-related activities going on. You will almost always see a police car chasing you when you are in Nigeria. You will oftentimes see these black and white painted curbs when you are in Rwanda, as well as yellow plates driving on the right side of the road. Uganda has a very distinct Google car not seen anywhere else. It also has very distinct soil. You can definitely tell where you are if you have a combination of these 2 things. If you're in Kenya and you see these palm trees, you're most likely going to be near Mombasa. Botswana is very, 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 very flat. I'm not really sure how to pronounce this, but Kaburha recently was changed. The name was changed from Port Elizabeth to this new name here. Thus, when you're in the game, you will see a lot of signs that say Port Elizabeth. If you're trying to find this on the map, you won't find it, but you have to understand that it is actually just Kaburha. Lesotho has very, very distinctive green terraced mountains. Eswatini has very distinctive long grass, not really seen anywhere else in the region. Mongolia sometimes does not have a big backpack. Sometimes it may also just have a simple roof rack with a snorkel. This one is backwards. Kyrgyzstan has a giant lake on the east side of the country. There's a road that runs around its entire circumference. India is famous for having a massive circular blur around the Google car. This blur is very, very intrusive. It's very common in Sri Lanka to see not only the local language, but also Latin letters. Bhutan is a pretty easy country once you know what you're looking for. It has a silver back of the car, pretty distinct architecture, and they use red license plates here. Bangladesh is famous for having massive puddles of water along the roads. You'll find this very frequently throughout the country. Thailand drives on the left side of the road. Cambodia drives on the right side of the road. Laos also drives on the right and uses yellow license plates. Hong Kong is one of the only places in China that actually has street view. Most of Taiwan's coverage is actually in the west side of the country. As you can see, there's a massive mountain range that runs kind of through the center, and a lot of roads here on the west side. Not much going on the east. It is very, very common to see these yellow with black striped poles in Japan. Contrary to popular belief, South Korea does not have full coverage over the country. As you can see, there's only certain pockets where there is coverage, and there's a lot of roads that actually don't have it throughout the country. If you're in the Philippines, you could see this massive armored vehicle driving around. Malaysia really loves using their black and white curbs and signposts. In Indonesia, it is very common to see big banners in front of stores, and also the Indonesian colors of their flag, which is red and white. When compared to nearby Malaysia and Indonesia, Singapore uses a lot of English. You will no longer see the Tasmanian tiger in Tasmania because it went extinct in 1936. This is 71 years before the founding of Google Street View in 2007. And finally, in New Zealand, you can easily tell that you are in Auckland if you look at any sort of bin on the side of the road and it will say Auckland Council. Of course, that's only if you are in Auckland. Well, I hope you learned a couple things in this video. Some of these tips are obviously very easy, some of them maybe a bit more advanced, but I hope you learned something. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See you, everybody.